And most addicts will say the same thing. There's no conscious mechanism there. It's time for a drink.
It's habitual.
Yeah, just get it. And it's not, it's an internal compulsion. And these are all...
And it's almost like you're living with a dual functioning brain, like a dual personality, one which is very primal and one which is sitting on top. It's almost like the Hulk.
Yeah, it is.
That is the manifestation of it.
Yeah. And, clients that I've dealt with over the years, I don't give any secrets away, but one guy that I'm working with, let's just say, if he ever met Keith Richards, he could teach Keith Richards a few things about drug taking,
Flipping heck.
and Ozzy Osbourne and all the others. He's been on the hard stuff for over 40 years, and his habit is phenomenal, or was. His was triggered by being abused at the age of 9. Okay, and that was the catalyst for him going completely off the rails and staying off the rails for over 40 years.
That's a long portion of someone's life.
A very long portion of someone's life. I'm now working with him to undo all the conditioning that his unconscious has put into him. And that's the problem. You talk to addicts, you talk about addicts, and most addicts will say the same thing. There's no conscious mechanism there.
Yeah.
It's time for a drink.
It's habitual.
Yeah, just get it. And it's an internal compulsion. And these are all strategies set up by the unconscious. And there's a new thinking coming around in psychological circles now, where they're saying that addicts are not medical problems. They're not. They don't have mental problems. What the addiction actually is compensation for something that they're lacking.
Yeah.
And that is very much borne out by the work I've done with addicts.
My mother was saying a while back she suffers with a few illnesses, but she never could understand an addict in her mind at that time. But then with some of the tablets that she was on, the doctor had to wean it off because they were no good for her. I think they classed it as like a dirty drug. I can't remember what the one was. She said the withdrawal symptoms were horrific. And she said, I've never ever felt more compassion for a drug addict who's have to do this themselves and go through that, because she said it's horrific. And that's just medication that is prescribed by a doctor, let alone the trauma that other people face that leads them to alcohol. And
well, I've got to hold my hand up. I spent over 20 years as, let's just say, as a very, very heavy drinker. I drank 7 days a week to excess. But I was high functioning. I was able to function during the day. But I'd go out at lunchtime, have 2, 3, 4 pints, go back, then leave. And I was training sort of 5 days a week, but then it'd be straight into the bar.
Because it's a normal thing. There's no line that, well, it's not a line, but there's nothing that differentiates yourself that this isn't normal.
Exactly. For me, it was normal. And for me, it was. This is why I relate very heavily with people who have a drug problem or a gambling problem or any kind of addiction, alcohol, because I've been there. I know exactly how it works, and it's that compulsion. There's no other way of putting it. It's not a conscious thought process. George Best,
Yeah.
classic case. There was the classic interview. George, where did it all go wrong? And it's because he had that internal drive that was saying, you need another drink.